Welcome to the Stretch2Go Podcast. My name is Ian Ray, your host today, and I have Kimberly Sheridan Owen from Wellington, New Zealand. Kia ora. Welcome to the Stretch2Go Podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So first of all, before we go any further, how in the heck did you get to New Zealand? And what's your story?
I guess the short one is I married a Kiwi, and so when the pandemic, ended, so to speak, or the borders opened, I moved over in 2022.
Okay. All right. So spouse is from there, born and raised? Nice. Okay.
Yes.
And you're originally from where?
New Jersey.
Okay, up the road. I'm here in Maryland.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How did you get into fascia stretch therapy by chance? I mean, it's a unique thing. Of course, with Stretch2Go Institute, that's how we, were able to connect. But how did you hear about it? What is the background?
Yeah, the short story is I was living at Los Angeles when I heard about it and working in the Santa Monica, Venice Beach area. And I was actually working at the very first StretchLab that existed in Venice Beach. And I always loved stretching my clients as a personal trainer. But I was having some back issues, and I heard about a fascial stretch therapist, went to check it out, fell in love with it, saw all the differences with fascial stretch therapy versus even what I was doing and what I had learned. And from there, just knew I had to go educate myself and learn that specific modality.
So you were working at StretchLab, correct? You said? Okay.
Yeah.
Now I know someone who has worked at StretchLab. Tell me the difference with what you've learned and experienced at StretchLab compared to what you're currently doing now with fascia stretch therapy. What is the difference? Like, if people are looking to say, hey, I can always just go to StretchLab or Stretch Zone. What is the difference? What makes us different compared to StretchLab and Stretch Zone?
I'm not familiar with Stretch Zone, so I can't really say, but I think the sort of level of training and education and attention to fascia is different and deeper. I think that StretchLab had good things to offer, but it was a quicker education, it was less training. And I think that when you're dealing with certain populations, certain injuries, neurological disorders, you really want to know that you're keeping people safe and you're approaching it in the right way. It's also probably evolved so much since then, for better or worse, because when I knew it, it was one company run by 3 people that really cared about it, and then it was sold, and now it's a huge company.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what it is now, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Okay. So how long were you working at StretchLab?
Maybe like a year.
So you were doing that on top of personal training?
Yeah, so I was a personal trainer in Santa Monica, and one of my clients knew the person that owned StretchLab and said, "Oh, you do great there. You should check it out." And I was like, "Sounds amazing. I always loved stretching people." And yeah, that's how I ended up there.
That's awesome. As far as the demographic and population that you are currently working with, who are they and what do they do?
It's such a wide range. I would say I have athletes. In my last city in Spokane, I worked with the Eastern Washington University football team the day after their games, so that was a lot of recovery and feeling better after getting quite beat up. But a good portion of my clients, the majority, are probably middle-aged, these old injuries, aches and pains, sit at a desk, want to stay active, want to keep hiking, whatever it is, and they're just really maintaining themselves in a smart way.
And then I guess, how did you hear about the Stretch2Go Institute?
Yeah, that was when I discovered the fascial stretch therapist in Los Angeles and was like, this is amazing. Where do you learn this? And she told me, and it didn't take me very long to get down to Stretch2Go and do the training. Went back to Los Angeles and actually ended up working alongside that stretch therapist for a while in Venice Beach until I moved, and I've moved a few times since then.
Who is it by chance? I might know her. Maybe not.
Yeah, it's Lindsay Sudell.
Yeah, okay. She's based still in the Santa Monica area?
Yeah, I believe she's still in Santa Monica.
Did you have any initial thoughts when you're enrolling into the Stretch2Go Institute, or did you have any hesitancy about the course?
No, I was so excited. I just wanted to learn what she did. I was like, whatever you did to me is magic, so gotta do this.
Yeah. I guess for you, what would you say to that one person who's on like the fence about enrolling to the Stretch2Go course? What would you tell them?
Just think the education and the hands-on is completely worth it. I mean, everybody has different backgrounds and different goals going forward, but it's such a wonderful course, and I think you really walk out of there with a lot of the experience and knowledge you need. And I think that stretch therapy is a wonderful necessary thing that's often a missing component. Like, it's growing quickly, but it's also a missing component for a lot of people and provides something that other modalities maybe aren't quite getting. So it's really great offering.
And then for you and the years that you've had experience with FST, do you have some wins or success stories of how clients have benefited with fascia stretch therapy?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things to see is a reduction in pain. I think I see more people excited that they've had their pain lessened than like the flexibility itself, you
Mm,
know? And so that's really great. I've had people with neurological conditions where it's really hard for them to stretch themselves. Sometimes they can't even get on the floor. So to be in a safe environment where they can feel better in their bodies and feel more mobile is such an amazing thing to see. I've had a few clients with multiple back surgeries, spinal fusions, hip replacements, limping, canes, and sometimes the transformation is just incredible. I had one lady who would drive 3 hours to see me because there was nobody in her area just because it helped her pain in her back so much.
this is back in Washington, or
That was Washington,
wow,
yeah.
that's some dedication right there.
I know.
And when you do treat your clients with FST, how do you explain what fascia is to someone who doesn't know about it? Do you give some analogy typically with clients?
Yeah, I usually kind of try to keep it simple and understandable, but just explain that it's the connective tissue and it's around everything, and to think a little bit more globally, because I think we tend to have a pain spot and really focus on that, and so thinking more connected and connective tissue and globally. And sometimes I give the analogy of like a cobweb or a bed sheet, where if you pull one part of it, other things are going to shift as well.
Yeah, I always love that. I went to Canada for my training, and so I remember a couple of the institute were they were telling me, like pulling on your shirt, you can definitely see it, and it kind of made sense just visually that, like you said, everything's connected. If one side is pulled, I mean, you can see the other side or someplace else that's probably pulling as well. As far as for you, so you've done FSD in the States, and now you've over here in New Zealand, which is I'm assuming has it been hard for you doing FSD, because I'm not sure if there's a lot of practitioners practicing FSD there.
It's different. I mean, it's definitely less well known. I mean, I found it somewhat when I moved to Spokane, Washington as
Hmm.
well. A place like Los Angeles, it's a little more known and there's more practitioners, where it's trying to build a business, but it's also educating people on what is stretch therapy, like what is this person even doing. And so I love it. I love introducing people to it. The same way I felt the first time I got it. I'm like, look at this magic. But it's always kind of hard to start a business over, though I'm starting to get kind of used to it.
I guess in your experience of moving around and starting up, what's been the best strategy as far as like growing a business and getting that momentum up? What's worked for you?
Yeah, I think a few things, kind of go through the trajectory. Like, I started working with another stretch therapist when I first started in LA, which is sometimes a great idea because maybe if you're new, then pairing up with somebody else can be a great way to learn stuff. And then in Spokane, I reached out to that football team just by emailing them. A lot of times people are like, how did you get that? And I was like, I just emailed them. And some people respond and some people don't, but I stretched one of the, top trainers. He loved it. Their people didn't do quite the same thing because, it's a little bit different. They did cupping and taping and other stuff. And then I did a lot more advertising here on Instagram and stuff because I really didn't know a lot of people, and word of mouth is always the best. If somewhere new, there's no word of
Yeah.
mouth. So I did Instagram advertising and local groups. Like, there was a local Facebook group for like this little area of Wellington. And I think my first 5 clients were because I posted my business in the local Facebook group.
Okay. Um, how has the reception been? since you've been there as far as, these New Zealanders with FSD? Are they liking it? Are you seeing some momentum? And kind of tell me like how hard it is to educate and especially bringing this type of modality to where it's unheard of.
Yeah, I think it's been great. I think the reception has been good. I think a lot of times that first hands-on makes people feel experientially what's happening and why it's beneficial. I know that some people were on the fence, or like, oh, I've been looking at your stuff for, 6 months, but I wasn't sure if it would hurt, or, whatever their reservations were. And then they come in and they're converted or become believers by actually feeling the difference. But I think people are pretty receptive to it. They think, oh, is this thing that's going to help me when other things haven't helped me, or stuff like that. And so yeah, it's
What type of injuries or pains are most people coming in that you've been treating?
hips and back, and a lot of neck and shoulders, and that kind of common tightness, probably from sitting a lot and desks and phones and stuff like that. So I would say those are repeats. Also quite a bit of plantar fasciitis, calf stuff. Kind of start to see stuff over and over
Yeah.
again.
As far as the FSD evolving in the future, how do you see Stretch2Win's FST course and the modality itself evolving in the future?
Just sort of keeps spreading and people do more stretching. I think before it was sort of unheard of, or maybe it was just for athletes, but it's definitely not just for athletes. It's like almost everybody can benefit from the assistance. And I think the research around fascia as well has been a new and growing thing, and always love to talk about it when I can, because fascia's so fascinating, and it's only the past, 30 years that they've really kind of delved in. So I think it'll probably continue to evolve as they learn more and more about fascia. Now it's like a sensory organ or a communication system, and it does all this amazing stuff. But just for, people, I hope it just keeps expanding and people can get this
Yeah.
service.
As far as your long-term goals for your business, what are they? What do you see yourself envisioning? I mean, you're pretty much set there now. You stop traveling around, but do you want to become the go-to person in your area, Wellington, as the FST person? What's the goal?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be the go-to person, or have so many people interested that any of us doing it are the go-to the go-to folks here. But yeah, I want people to know about it. I want people to be helped by it. And yeah, I don't know, like I'm a little non-specific on my long-term goals because I sort of feel settled after a lot of moving, and starting over can be hard, so I don't love the idea of moving and starting over, but if I have to, I will.
Yeah.
And life takes unexpected turns. And sometimes I think about, different offerings that I haven't jumped on, but sometimes I'm like, should I do a stretching Zoom class and offer something online for people that can't see me in person? Or, uh, sometimes I think about ways to expand or do something differently that might also be
Yeah.
helpful. I use the personal training background a bit because I did that for so long that I do end up giving people a lot of like homework or strength exercises if they feel like they need it. And it's that thing where like different practitioners have different backgrounds and different things to offer, and they can work well
Mhm.
together. So I often say like stretching and strength are the perfect marriage. I sometimes try to give people that too if I know they need it.
Yeah. I guess with your personal training background, do you find common people having like weak glutes and especially let's say like immobile like ankle joints? What are some common things that you see like giving people when you're giving homework that people need to strengthen their bodies on? What parts?
I definitely think glutes and core are common. There's a lot of back pain and a lack of sort of strength to support the back. Sometimes the postural muscles in the upper back, if you're not doing any pulling or really anything to work on that, then you're kind of slouching, which is a bit of that combination of probably needing to open up the front, but also strengthening the back. I notice a lot of times people with like plantar fasciitis or foot and calf issues, they need to stretch, but they also need strength, like foot strength and stuff, and that can make a huge difference finally turning the corner on plantar. So yeah, those are some of the common ones.
Okay. Um, I'm just so intrigued. Like, I don't know. Do you know any other FSD practitioners in New Zealand area, like besides Wellington, like in Auckland or Christchurch or anywhere else? Or
Yes, so I didn't think there were any, or I didn't realize, or I couldn't find them. And the first person I found was in Auckland, and we kind of became online buddies, but I haven't met him in person yet. And then there's one here in Wellington who's here part-time, and he also does massage therapy. I think he learned in Canada. And then at one point, I guess there were some Canadians here that trained a few people, and then they left. But I think there might be like 3 or 4 in the whole country.
okay.
And I think my online presence is just a lot more loud, so I didn't find them right away.
So with New Zealand, I mean, powerhouse in rugby, cricket, I think. I don't know if they do cricket there. Of course, Australian rules rugby. Football? Do they do that too? Not New Zealand? I'm not sure. Probably not.
What is that?
Australian rural football. In Australia, they have like the Australian football instead of along with rugby. Probably not. I think it might just be Australian.
I'm not even sure. I'm learning about this stuff. I heard about netball when I got here, and I'm like, what is netball? Like, is that basketball? Like, it's kind of crazy.
That is intense.
The small team.
Yeah, I've seen some matches on netball. That's a pretty intense sport.
Yeah, so I'm doing some learning here, which is interesting. You know, I'm not as used to rugby, cricket, and netball. And I mean, of course, I love working with any athlete or any person. It doesn't really matter, but it's kind of a fun new learning experience for me. And I've connected with, a few of them have come in. I connected with the physio for the netball team, and yeah, it's exciting.
So, which reminds me, I guess, so for like new practitioners, okay, when you are trying to do outreaches to people in your community to grow your business, what have you found best? Going in person, emailing them, social media, like calling them, like what's the best way to like reach and kind of build that community or at least a referral source for, people in your circle so that you can continue to help each other out business wise? Like what's the best way that you found? Kind of help me walk through what you've done.
Yeah, I think social media is nice for connecting with various people and continuing to stay connected, I think. And then I've done a lot of emailing. So usually what I do is I'll email a team or whoever it is, a physio, something like that, and ask if I can offer them a free FST session, and maybe it's something that they would want to have in their clinic or for their team or something like that. So I introduce myself a little bit and what fascial stretch therapy is in case they've never heard of it. And then I usually offer a free session because again, if they've never felt fascial stretch therapy, why would they want to offer it to their whole team? And so that has worked out, a few times. I've gotten responses like, yeah, sounds interesting, like let's connect. And I also like to have recommendations and other practitioners that do same stuff, other stuff. And so even on my website, I keep a list of links and resources so that people, if they're looking for a physio or a massage therapist or whatever, that there's people mentioned there that they can seek out, as well as free YouTube resources, because sometimes there's some great free resources and exercises, but people don't know where to look or who to trust. So I do like offering and staying in community with other people.
I guess I'm always figuring out because do you do anything else besides FST? Do you do like cupping or scraping or?
Yes, I do cupping and scraping and sort of Thai massage, but not really. I've kind of integrated a few moves, but that was the first thing I did back in the day was a Thai massage course. And then yeah, I did a rock tape
Oh yeah.
scraping class once upon a time, and working along Lindsay and her husband, who is a physical therapist. They were doing scraping and cupping, and so I learned a lot of good stuff working alongside them, taking a few courses. And at this point, I'll usually start a session. Well, the first session I always do just FST, but kind of see what's going on. But then a lot of times after that, I might do 15 minutes of scraping and cupping on the areas that really could benefit, and then do the rest of the session as stretch therapy. So stretch therapy is the bulk of it, but I do incorporate those other things a
Okay.
bit.
That's cool. Yeah, but I'm always curious to see how people integrate, the different modalities into the FSC sessions, because they're all soft tissue work. And so it's interesting. I might try that scraping or cupping definitely, because I want to learn cupping as well. I think it's beneficial. It helps release that tension in that specific area. And of course, try to relax, or even, stretch with the FSC. I don't know. I don't know how you do it, whether if you still have the cups and stretch them, or do you just cup it and then take it off and
Yeah, generally not so much, but I feel like the research is showing that the best way to use cupping is to move while the cups are on. So I think that that could be a great idea, and that it is nice to just kind of reduce the tension and decompress the tissue sometimes before stretching. I don't do anything too hard either, I love sort of calming the nervous system down and letting it let go. And I think that's one of the most common things I see or hear is that people are afraid I'm really going to yank on them or hurt them before they know what it is. And one of the things that I love about it is that it's pretty gentle, and you don't have to grimace or cringe. You shouldn't be, and then hopefully you stand up and you feel a lot freer without getting mutilated.
I know. I think definitely that traction, oscillation, circumduction, like you're saying, those is what makes the fascia therapy so unique, because we incorporate that in their stretching. People can do PNF, physiotherapists do PNF. It's been a while, but those three things, along with the different type of fascial lines that we work with, I think that's what makes fascia therapy so unique. Plus, us as practitioners listening to the teaching and feeling it. I've never met Chris and Ann before, but just reading their book, listening to, different practitioners like yourself, telling me like how much passionate they are about this FSC work. It's such an awesome modality, awesome work to do.
I know. I love their passion, and I love that they've sort of integrated this intuition and this listening with the science and this research on like what fascia is actually doing. It's a really nice combination of things.
Well,
And I agree that circumduction too is a really magical part of it. I think getting into the joint capsules and doing that circling, it's just so helpful.
especially for those clients who are like super heavy, or they just won't give you anything. So like just loosening it up and letting them relax, then I'm able to get into the stretch. Because yeah, I've had so many of those where I'm like, I can't do it. It's so heavy.
Yeah, it's amazing how much further people get than they think they can, sometimes by getting that little bit of movement first. Like I've had a lot of people say, I would never be able to do that on my own, or I'm surprised that you can do that. And I'm never forcing, right? It's just that like when you know what you're doing, you can get there safely.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Kimberly, for hopping onto my podcast. Definitely, I want the audience to know how people can follow you, and of course, learn more and book a session to do some fascia stretch therapy there in Wellington. So, if you don't mind sharing us with the audience how people can follow you, whether if it's your website, social media handle, an email, and of course, the best way to book a session with you. So, go ahead.
Yeah, the best way to find me is SheridanStretchTherapy.com, and you can book a session on there. My email's on there, my phone, my address, and then my Instagram is also Sheridan Stretch Therapy.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And for those of you who are listening, don't forget to subscribe to and follow the Stretch2Go podcast. We release new podcasts every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for those of you who are wanting to learn about this wonderful modality of the Stretch2Win Institute, please go visit stretch2win.com, where you can find the nearest practitioner near you, or you can want to become a practitioner like Kimberly and myself. You can do that as well on stretch2win.com. Kimberly, it's been a pleasure. I hope you have a good rest of your day as I'm finishing my rest of my day here.
Thank you so much. It was so nice chatting
Yes,
with you.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.